This has got the Fix-It Guide. Today we're dealing with a Whirlpool dryer that's making a lot of noise, and the suspicion is that the roller wheels may be wearing out. So I removed the filter, and then I'm going to remove two Phillips head screws here that are underneath the filter housing. That's going to allow me to push in on these clips here in the front right and front left hand corners, and then I can lift up the top lid. So I'm just using a paint scraper. You could use a standard head screwdriver, anything that can get in there to pry up that clip. And the other one, I'm just using the edge of the paint scraper to push in on the clip, get that up, hinge it back, and be careful this won't fall on you. Make sure you lean it back far enough so it's not going to fall while you're working. And we're going to use the paint scraper to disconnect the door switch just by prying it apart. And we're going to undo a couple of bolts that are holding on the front panel, and it's in the upper left and upper right hand corner on the inside. This is on the Whirlpool direct drive dryer. This is Series 80. There's a Series 70, Series 80, Series 90. They're pretty similar. And then I'm going to remove the belt from underneath by taking it off the motor pulley. And then I'll be able to lift the tumbler out of the way. I usually just grab the belt to pull it off. It's a good time also to get in there and clean any accumulated lint that's built up inside the cabinet. I'm using a standard head screwdriver to pry off this little plastic piece that's holding the wheel onto the shaft. Usually the wheels get a little bit out of true and then they start making some noise. It's unusual that the axle itself would wear out or get out of true, because the metal it's made out of is much harder than the metal on the wheel. And remove this guard here. There's two bolts holding it on. Once I get the guard off, I'll be able to pull this wheel off. There's two of them, so I'm going to be replacing both. It comes in a kit. Here's the model number for the kit. It has the two wheels. It has two new plastic parts that hold the wheel to the shaft. And it has a little metal circlip that can be used on the left wheel to help hold it on. So you can get this at like Amazon.com or Reliable Parts. If you just put this part number in a Google search, you'll have it come up. They're pretty inexpensive. I'm going to put this wheel onto the shaft. You don't really need to lubricate these. And this dryer was just making a lot of squealing sound as it ran. These wheels last a long time though. I would say maybe at around 12 to 13 years in, you'd have to replace these wheels. So I just put the little plastic piece on that holds it on, and I put this metal bracket, and I'll put a little metal circlip. I'll push it on that shaft, and then that one's done. It's pretty fast. And there's one over by the motor here, another roller, and that one's just held in by the little plastic piece. I'll put this guard back on it too. It's pretty cool. This thing just keeps a lot of the heat tube from coming in contact with the dryer belt. Put these two bolts back in. Alright, we took off that plastic piece, and we can just pull that wheel right off. Make sure the shaft is clean. We don't really have to oil it. And we can put the new wheel on and then put the new plastic piece on. Looks good. And this is the idler pulley. So we get the tumbler, put it back on. We're gonna make sure that the felt seal fits right over on that bearing. We'll turn it a little bit to make sure it's seated on properly. And we're gonna add the belt back onto the idler pulley and back onto the motor pulley. It's pretty easy to do. You just push the idler wheel up toward the tumbler to take the slack off, and then you grab the belt and have it go over to the motor pulley, and then you can let the spring tension let go on the idler pulley. And it's good to, once the belt's on, before you reassemble it, kind of support the tumbler and give it a few turns to make sure the belt's going to stay on. So it looks like the belt's on there nice and true. So now we're going to add the front panel back on. To do that, I'm going to grab the panel and push in with my legs a little bit to add forward pressure as I lift up the panel slightly higher than the frame, and then I'll let it lock in on its lower lugs. And this may take a couple of tries, so you got to make sure that the front bearing on the front panel is in contact with the tumbler, and then you want to push in the front panel against the frame and lift up higher than the frame by about an inch. So we got that in. Now I'm going to put the bolts back in to hold it into position. Okay, got both bolts in. We're going to reconnect the door switch, and that's it. And that squeak will be gone. So hope this has been helpful to you, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance.